Uh, and wow. Did you have snow today, Michaela?
A little bit. Yes, a little bit. We
There
are
we
having a
go.
cold winter. Yeah.
All right. Straight up 12 o'clock in Kansas City. I love living in a time zone where 12 is the time.
hmm
Completion on the human plane and completion on the spiritual plane. Anyway, welcome everyone. Welcome everyone around the world because today we have Michaela with us as our spotlight guest. She's been on Called by Love multiple times, but I especially am excited about this time because we're spotlighting her and her life. And I am thrilled about that. I've known Michaela for over a decade and met her in person one time when she came to Big Bear Lake for a week-long retreat for all the way from Vienna. And now she's calling in from Vienna, 7 o'clock there. And Garth is calling in from the Pacific Coast, 8 o'clock there. And no, it's 10 o'clock there. And these are all interesting numbers to me. And I'm here, of course, and some of you from Central Time, which is 12 o'clock noon, high noon. So once again, hello, everyone. Hello, world. How beautiful it is on this day in February to be celebrating and encountering such a time-altering moment cosmically. And we've celebrated and honored lots of things in our lifetimes, but this happens to be one of the most important times in all of our lives for because we'll never experience this 0 point in the way we are now. Not for over 6,000 years. And it's just quite astounding to me to have the knowledge that we have now. 19 years ago, computers were just starting. My son was working with me on developing some computer stuff. He tried his best to get me to learn some of the things he wanted me to learn. And I said, why should I do that? I have you. And of course, he passed in 2004 through the veils. He's still with me. He still talks to me. I have to be cautious who I say that to because not everyone believes it. And I don't want to turn people off before we have a chance to get acquainted. So it is a beautiful, beautiful day to say welcome, and let's do the invocation. I am now in the presence of pure being. I am immersed in the Holy Spirit of life, of love, of wisdom. I acknowledge this presence and this power. I am that. We are that. You are that. Oh, blessed Spirit, now erase our mortal limitations. Those are words of Charles Fillmore. I use the word dissolve our mortal, our human limitations. And from this pure substance of love, bring into manifestation our world according to your perfect plan. Charles Fillmore called it law, the law of the universe. I call it God's plan. And so, once again, hello world. And what a joy it is, Michaela, to welcome you. Even if I still mispronounce your name, say it correctly one time for everyone here.
Well, it's the German pronunciation. It's Michaela.
And I always pronounce it with
It's
Michael at
fine.
the beginning
That's fine. Yeah,
because it
exactly. With
reminds me
Michael,
of Archangel
it's
Michael,
yeah.
and you remind me of the feminine form of that.
Mm.
What a beautiful, beautiful experience. And so today our theme is about cosmic cycles. It's about shifts in creation and the genesis. Today is a whole new genesis of co-creation. I love that word Genesis because Genesis is what the stages of what I call acts in my book, um, the unrecognized aspects of our soul, the gifts of spirit that are downloaded and constantly available to us if we're willing to say yes to them, if we're willing to recognize them, if we're willing to receive them and ultimately act upon them. And today, this monumental leap day in history, the cosmic shift day, the Aquarius age, has officially, in the cosmic calendar, arrived. We had a glimpse of it in the 1960s, early 1970s. Ed and I had a glimpse of it before we even knew each other. And then when we first knew each other, when we met in 1972. It's amazing when we can see our life in this kind of cosmic perspective. And we're going to be doing some of that today, Michaela, with you and talking about these cycles. But first, I just want to say to you how much I've admired you over all of these years, for over a decade. I don't remember the exact year of that Big Bear retreat. Do you?
I think it was 2017, I believe. That's
So,
almost 10 years ago. Almost 10 years. Yeah.
yeah, more than a decade ago, because
Mm.
you had been part of Called by Love from the very, very beginning. And Called by
Mm.
Love in its first form was just beginning. It didn't have a website, didn't have anything like that. And Garth and I talked about John Robinson yesterday. He was the one that said, "Do you have a website?" And I said, "No, what's that?" And he gave me a brief description. And, and I said, "Well, I don't know how to create that." And he said, "I do. And I'm off work. I'm between jobs right now. I'll create it for you." The birth of that cycle started in my life about 19 years ago. So we're going through cycles in time. And Michaela, let's just recognize some of those cycles in your own life. And I've always referred to you on previous calls as the medical doctor from Vienna. And yet I don't know a whole lot about your life. I'm learning more
Mm.
about it even now. I've always seen the vastness of the gifts that you have. You were the one that introduced me to gene keys and to the human design and said, "Oh, you must do this." And those are my words about different things so many times. "Oh, you must do this." I think I said that to you. "You must come to Big
Yeah.
Bear."
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have been initiators for each other for a long time in our lives. And I think that is by divine design. Somehow, some way, you met me after I was on that call with Adi Shanti, I think it was. and you signed up for our website and our list, and you've been in my life at various degrees, off and on, for a long time. Most significantly, in the last year, when I had a huge decision to make that involved breast surgery. And you just guided me through. Asked Guided me through, not by telling me what to do, but by asking me questions, which I know is the most important way to connect with people. Telling people what to do is never, ever ultimately going to work. It's your agenda, not theirs. They have to find their own way in their own time, and your way and their way, whoever they may be, whether it's someone you're living with, like Ed and I are living together, or whether it's someone you've known a long time, like Marla and I have known each other since my son was alive. Everyone has their own unique path. And all of these paths are ultimately leading us into the path that ultimately we will all be part of. But getting on the path and thinking we're on it ahead of time doesn't work. We have to experience it as we go along. And all of the kinds of downloads that are coming that are part of that, Your Soul's Invisible Codes, the book that I wrote, was an important dimension for me of that. I'm wondering if there's a new genesis of that coming out. What is the new genesis that could be birthing itself in your life now? What I know is it's not just about me. It's not about one person doing it. It's about a co-creative genesis. And it's about different people bringing their co-creative gifts, not arguing with each other or even suggesting to each other that I'm right and you're wrong. Not saying I'm higher or you're not there yet. It's none of that. That's all human egoic perception that leads us down those paths. Oneness is where God is. Seeing through the eyes of God consistently, every single day, every single moment, seeing every person all the way, there. And recognizing that everyone has their own roles to play. This is the beginning of Lent today. And that leads us into Holy Week, where Coral and I are going to spend some time together again. And that kind of sacred journey is something we are all on. So, Michaela, what I've loved about you, one of the things is your kindness. I'm remembering how you connected with, I can't even remember his name right now, whose wife had the stroke.
Mhm.
I'm guessing you're still connecting with him occasionally.
Yes.
Do you want to say his name?
Oh, Don. Remember
Don.
Don? Yeah, Don and Joyce.
And the kindness you showed him as all of those things happened in his life and his wife's life. And you called him every week for a long time. I don't know how often you call
We
him now.
still do. Not that often, but we still speak. Mhm.
It's amazing. The kindness, that
Mhm.
heart-centered awareness that you live and move and in which you have your being. And uh, it's just an amazing gift to see the vastness of all of your interests. And so let's start by highlighting you in these conversations. And we'll begin with the first picture. And that first picture is about your childhood. So
Mm.
I love this picture. Yeah.
I
And
said it's a Sound of Music style.
what
But we
you wrote
actually did
under
dress
each
like that. Huh?
what you wrote under each of the pictures is your own words describing them.
Mm,
I'm going
mm,
to do that in the future with everyone that I ask to send me pictures. So it just was so beautiful. So under the first picture, what you wrote was Sound of Music style family outing. And then you said, we actually did dress like that. And you identified yourself as the one in the pigtails in the center of the picture and said that you were probably around 9 years old.
mm,
Tell
mm.
us about your Sound of Music style family.
Well, my Sound of Music style family. So I grew up on the outskirts of Vienna in the house my grandfather had built. It was a big house and a big garden. And we had really an enchanted childhood. I mean, I'm the eldest of four. And, I mean, in the first 10, 11 years of my life, it was all about, I mean, it was really a very harmonious and happy childhood. I mean, we were giving a lot of freedom. I was a very creative child. I mean, I did painting and writing and sewing and what have you. I mean, this is what I did all day long. And you know, um, I think this is what I really remember. And we did those family outings, I mean, we did hikes. We did actually quite long hikes, when Vienna is ideally situated, where we have all these hills and mountains, at a very close distance. So, I mean, like any good Viennese family, we would spend, Sundays usually Sundays taking hikes. And that is a picture of one of those hikes. There are many, many more of this. I mean, remember this is a very happy time.
So, was there music in your childhood?
Um, well, not so much, even though my father was a pianist, but his education and eventually his career was cut short by the war. Yeah, so he never really got back to it, but I mean, he would play once in a while. I mean, always he emigrated when during the war, so he would play all these emigre composers like Chopin and Rachmaninoff, and I mean, really this very heavy stuff. So yeah, that was the music of my childhood, but I really got more into my own music, the Viennese music, I would say, like Beethoven or Mozart and, what Haydn, when I was moving into my teenage years, and this is when I discovered music. I never could do it myself, even though, when my father tried to to give me piano lessons, and I had piano lessons, but, I mean, I was never good at it, I mean, I never could do these things. But I understand music, I mean, but listening to music, I understand it. So I think I'm musical in that way.
And what about your mother?
My mother, my mother was not musical at all. Nothing. I mean, we would laugh, and when sometimes, when she would do a little song for us, and and she couldn't hold a note. But I mean, but what came from her side was really, I mean, the creativity. She was a very, very creative person. And in particular with sewing and the garden and later on the cooking. So, I mean, those are all things I got from her. And yeah, I mean, they complemented each other quite well, I think. Um, but we're also very, very, very different.
So, education, were there,
Education. Well, I mean, I didn't have a very good time in my teenage years because I had to go to a school that was primarily training the left brain. And it's not that I couldn't do it, but I preferred the right brain so much more. So I really struggled. I really struggled, I mean, going through this. But thankfully, I mean, I did. And not the least, I mean, my mother, I mean, was relentless. I mean, there was no question I had to go through this education. And, I mean, when I finished, um, I think it's high school in the US, but it goes a little longer here in Europe. Then I went to university to study medicine. And it's interesting, medicine, I had this literally visceral reason to go into medicine because when I was a child, and I think my brother broke a collarbone, and we went to I mean an ambulance, and I sat there, and there was this smell, I mean this hospital smell, and I felt so at home there. So that was with me, and that was the moment I knew I would have to study medicine. I had many other interests, but I mean that smell, I mean directed me really in the path of being a medical student, and it's like 6 7 years was quite brutal, but I was quite happy. I mean, as unhappy as I was in the middle school or in high school, as happy as I was as a student because I could do it my way. I mean, I only had to show up and at several times. I had enough time for myself. I mean, that was much more my pace, and even though, I mean, the left brain was not my forte, I had it trained sufficiently, I mean, to get through university, and then get into hospital. And there I was, and the smell was not nowhere to be found. The smell was nowhere to be found. But, I mean, it was still a good time because, I mean, I loved medicine, and the intellectual part, really the intellectual part of it. And I spent 5 or 6 years different in different specialties, trying to find a specialty for myself, but I never succeeded. And at the time, this is what I said, my first Saturn return, which is basically moving into the second
so
cycle.
go to the next picture, which is
Yeah,
your
exactly. That was me,
38
I mean,
years
right
old.
in the middle of my Saturn return. And I mean, everything changed. And I was in a relationship for a long-term relationship during my studies, and that ended. And I also got very much into traveling at the time. I mean, it really was bitten by the travel bug. And I traveled to Asia and to Africa and more. I mean, that was really becoming a passion of mine. So, I mean, I had moved to my own apartment, I traveled, and, I mean, really was not very happy in the hospital. And I could not see myself going into practice. Because, I mean, I think at the time I thought much too young. I'm ways too young, to do this for the rest of my life, and sitting in practice, and, doing simply the doctor stuff. So um, I took some time to travel again. So I traveled, and I think it was Asia. I went to Burma and Thailand and Indonesia, and I really, it was almost today you would call a gap year. At the time, it was outrageous. What are you doing? But when I came back, I only knew I didn't want to stay in medicine any longer. And, before I could ask myself, what now? I came upon an advertisement in a newspaper looking for a person with exactly my qualification. It just came out of the blue. And I had no idea what that was. And I called there and they invited me for interviews. And like 2 weeks later, I had a job at the Austrian subsidiary of Eli Lilly and Company.
And
I'm in the
right now we're
US.
into this picture.
Yeah. Yes.
Your
Yes.
corporate life.
That was my corporate life. But, the secret reason for me to get into this was because of travel. That was a job with a lot of traveling. And, I pretty quickly got into a management development program, which also meant moving. And I lived in several foreign countries. I lived in Poland. I lived in Germany, close to Frankfurt. Then I went to London, and eventually, and this is where the pictures from, to Indianapolis, where the headquarters of Eli Lilly and Company is. With increasing responsibility um, you know, and again, the job was fine. I liked the job. It was intellectually stimulating. I had gone from the medical part to marketing. I had a gift for that. And it was really a fun time. It was a fun time and intellectually challenging. But
And
you
you
know,
identified this in the caption as your first Saturn return.
yeah, that is what my first Saturn return led me to. Away from Vienna, going to live in foreign countries. And, really, this whole second cycle is all about work and move. Move physically to other countries, but also, a lot of travel. A lot of travel. And, that
Now,
is what made me quite happy.
and how many foreign languages do you speak?
Well, actively, I should rather say how many I learned. I speak German and English, but dormant are French and Italian and also a bit of Spanish. Nothing of it is active, but, I learned these languages.
And you learned these and many things in your life experientially,
Yeah,
not intellectually.
yeah,
And then
yeah.
you do it your own way.
I did it my own way. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Yes.
And you do it from your right brain as opposed to your left brain,
Well,
although
I
your
kind
left brain
of
supports you.
I kind of shifted to my left brain, because that was required. I had marketing jobs, that required creativity and, so I could use a bit of, that right brain capacity. But really, at that time I was mostly in my head, I would say. You know, the um, Indianapolis was not my how to say, dream location. I had quite a culture shock there. I mean, it was my first time living in the US, which was good in a way because it was slower and I could get used to the way of life. But I was not happy in Indianapolis, as you can imagine. And I mean, then there was an opportunity, as it happens often in the pharmaceutical industry, they were downsizing. And it was a big opportunity to take a package. And my green card had come through. So I took the package and, quit my job. And everyone said, you are crazy. Uh, but I said, I'm going to New York now. And again, people were just shaking their heads, but I knew I was going to New York. And I literally, I mean, even to say that, but literally manifested a job because, like, 3 months after quitting, I got a call from Pfizer, which is, at the time they were headquartered at 42nd Street in the middle of Manhattan. I interviewed, I got a beautiful job and a very nice apartment. And, I mean, at the end of my just before my Chiron return, I was on top of the world. I mean, I was absolutely on top of the world. I mean, I lived in Manhattan and I had a good paying job. And, I mean, all the fun and travel, and you just can imagine.
And
You
so
know,
you're
yeah,
referring to some of this time, which is
Chiron
kind of your
return.
third act, but you also identify this third act, a Chiron
Yeah,
return.
that was the Chiron return.
You bring in astrology over and over again. Were you familiar
Yes.
with astrology or have you?
Not at the time, not at the time, not at the
But
time,
it was
but looking
happening in
back, it was like a clockwork. It was like a clockwork, Saturn return, Chiron return. So Chiron return happens around 50, I mean, in my case, it was 3 years before, but it started with a freak accident. I broke my leg falling off a standing bicycle at the far end of Brooklyn. And it was actually quite a happy time because, I mean, I had to stay home for like 2 or 3 months. And, I mean, it was not a problem, I mean, in terms of benefits and everything, with Pfizer is quite generous. It was really a very, very good time, but something happened at the time, I mean, being so, complacent and quiet and, I mean, not intellectually stimulated all the time. Because when I got back into my job, I couldn't really, um, you know, um, I could not really uh, connect to where I had left off. I mean, something had changed. So, and it only took like, and I mean, this was the beginning of this, but it took then a year and a half, and literally everything everything was falling apart, literally. I mean, the relationship ended, I lost money, my beautiful apartment building underwent a conversion, so I was about to leave to lose my incredible apartment I had there. And I had a health issue, a serious and mysterious health issue. So, I mean, I mean, pretty much everything from the top of the world, to where am I going now,
So this was a
happened.
time of what I call divine dissolve.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the thing is, it was so crazy, that even if I had no idea about these things at the time, nothing, I mean, I was not really a spiritual person, I have to say. Um, but at the time, um, I mean, but I've always been quite intuitive. So intuitively, I knew it's all right. I mean, it's also, it's okay. It's okay. I mean, of course, I struggled, and I tried to, I mean, remedy things and, um, uh, tried to do everything I could to hold this up. But of course, I mean, the more I struggled, the worse it got. And and so I remember, and I remember it like today. It's really an important. It was an important event. It was on the 4th of July weekend. The 4th of July weekend, and I was in New York, and like I was sitting on my bathroom floor, and like in desperation, and something in me said, "I'm giving up." I am giving up. And the moment I said that, there was an incredible relief. And there was a thought coming up saying, you go back to Vienna. Something, I had not dreamt of. And when I took this picture, I go back to Vienna. And then I said, okay, Vienna, what am I going to do there? And the answer came, energy medicine. Energy medicine. And I'm still figuring out what that means.
Download.
Sir?
It was a download. It
It was a
came.
download. Yeah, absolutely. It was a download. What happened next, because now we go into the interesting part, the inner interesting part. The outer interesting part happened before. Now there is the inner interesting part. So what happened after I had taken this decision to quit my job and go back to Vienna, a friend introduced me to her spiritual teacher. So I met my first spiritual teacher there. And it was, I had a booked a consultation. It was a quite powerful man, Park Avenue South, as you do when you're a spiritual teacher. And I had a consultation, and they just looked at me and laughed and said, you must explore your spirituality. He said this laughing. And I said,
Who
yeah, okay.
was this spiritual teacher?
Who it was?
Uh-huh.
It was a man called Guru Nam of Nam Yoga. You're familiar with him?
No,
Maybe
I'm not.
not.
Coral
No, no.
maybe. Coral teaches yoga.
Guru Nam.
Anyway, I'm the one
Yeah.
I'm wondering about is Eckhart Tolle
Yeah,
because
yeah.
he
They're coming to that. Yeah. Uh-huh.
okay.
Yeah. We come to. I make it brief, but I think it's important, because that man taught a blend of Kundalini yoga and Kabbalah, even though I think it was more Rose Craw or Rosicrucian, you know. So, that put me on really the spiritual path, because I got into a world I had not known before. And there was also, and it was the body work, but it was also the esoteric part. I went back to Vienna, opened a practice. We're coming to Eckhart Tolle soon, but I have to,
Okay,
you
let's
know,
look at this symbol.
yeah, yes. I opened a practice. I had still my medical license, and I opened a practice uh, for stress medicine. On a holistic approach to people with symptoms of stress. And that went quite well. There was a big need, and before everyone else got into it. But the moment I came back to Vienna, I met my second spiritual teacher. And that time it was a Tibetan Lama, a young Tibetan Lama, also a quite powerful person. And, who taught bodily exercises. And I spent 3 years, holding my breath and jumping on my tailbone without even having a clue why I'm doing this. Looking back, I know it was a preparation, of what was to happen next. And, now we come to Eckhart Tolle because after about 2 or 3 years, sitting at the feet of the Lama and, doing his exercises, he sent me away. And again, he sent me away. And I didn't understand. I could have been insulted, but I knew it's all right. 3 weeks later, I got an email from a friend And she said, "Do you know this person? I think this is a cult." And I opened that link she sent, and it was the Eckhart Tolle Oprah conversations. So I listened
The
to
power
Eckhart,
of now.
the power of now, and I listened to that conversation. And, I mean, it spoke to something in me, but, and on Easter Monday, Easter Monday of 2009, doing my accounting, listening to Eckhart Tolle on the site, suddenly time stood still, and literally time stood still. And I heard Eckhart's voice very, very slowly and, deeply penetrating. And, and then there was a shift, and that shift was physical. It was like, and, I mean, a voice came up saying, I'm making this all up. I am making this all up. And then the
Voice
second
inside of
thought,
us. This is the
huh?
voice inside of us that is afraid that if you
Yeah,
do this,
yeah,
you will die.
yeah,
you and it's your
yeah,
your ego self saying, you're just making this up.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You're making this up. But, I mean, there was a shift and an opening, and that opening never closed. And then I got into Eckhart Tolle, you know, and other spiritual teachers. And, I mean, that was a quite interesting time because what, started then was, I mean, the recognizing of patterns and, I mean,
This
basically the egoic dissolution. And I also got, my Eckhart Tolle and then Nadia Shanti, and the
it
two
was
of them,
another
yeah,
important intersection for you and I because I met Eckhart Tolle before he ever was famous. And he ultimately came to Unity of Tustin one time
I
and
know.
spoke. And this is when he self-published his book, The Power of Now. He hadn't become famous yet. And it's incredible how our lives take us into the realms, into the vibrations that are part of our destiny. We have
Yeah.
to be willing.
Mm. Yeah. Yes. And, you know, um, that was then the time, sorry, of the second Saturn return. Because while I had lived in the northern part of the city where there are the hills and the vineyards, you know, there was the time suddenly, when the business came to a halt. I mean, again, everything changed. And I suddenly knew I had to um, move in with my mother, who was at the time, going on in her late 80s. And, when she couldn't deal with the house and the garden and everything. And, I mean, that was the last thing I ever thought I would do. Because, my mother and I, we
Right.
never had a really good
It's the
relationship.
picture
Yeah,
of
that's
you
the old
move back
house.
into
Yes, that's
your
the old
family
house.
home.
A house and a garden. And, I mean, I thought symbolically it was also quite interesting because I went from, in the hills and looking down to the city, on to the other side of the city, where there are the fertile fields and, I mean, grounds and the garden. And I had all the time my hands in this, in the earth. And, and again, I had never thought I would do that. But it turned out to be really powerful because, when I also realized I'm doing this, I mean, to go deep on old wounds and family patterns and da 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 da. And that was the time I met you because I went, I mean, not very long after I had moved into this house. A friend called me and said, I'm going to a retreat at Ashanti in the Netherlands, a silent retreat. Are you coming with? And I said, yes. And called up the website, booked the retreat, booked the seat. Only later found out that was absolutely impossible because it was sold out for, I don't know. But I sat there for like 2 weeks or 10 days in silence with like 250 people. And that does something with you. Absolutely does something to you. Um, I think about 6 weeks later, at a friend's apartment in Berlin, who is, I mean, someone who accompanies on the path, we go very parallel. A friend's apartment in Berlin, looking at the hallmark of Berlin, which is the TV tower, a broadcasting tower. I listened to Adeshanti talking with you about the descent of the dove. And yeah, this is
I
how it happened.
when I was on his show, he was
When you were on,
interviewing,
yeah,
he said, I want a mystic, Marge. I want somebody
yeah,
that can talk about the descent of the Holy Spirit. And he said,
yeah.
you're the person. I know that you're the person I can talk to. And so it
Mm.
was about the descent of the dove.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that was, I thought that was the stage I was at, because everything became very much in the body, you know, and it became deep and it became visceral, I mean, this whole process. And I really related to it. And, and once I had listened to it, I knew I had to call you or contact you, and I did. And, this is where when the series started, your telecourses. No, first it was the conversations with, I mean, teachers, I mean, you had known in your life or interacted with in your life, and then the telecourses.
It's amazing. And
Yeah.
the other question I wanted to ask you about the symbol for your holistic health practice,
Mm.
it's a synthesis of Kundalini and AESCULAP.
Oh, oh, okay. That's not the Aesculap. The Aesculap is, I mean, the medicals, the snake, the symbol. I think, what is it
So
called? I
it's a
think.
staff and that the
Mm, yeah,
symbol of the snake
yeah,
and the,
yeah.
and the
It's
rod.
a symbol. It's a symbol of Western medicine. Perhaps not so much in the U.S. because I only saw the caduceus there. But I mean, in Europe, the Aesculap is the symbol of Western medicine. And so, I mean, I always thought, I mean, this is a beautiful synthesis.
And of course, Kundalini is about the descent and the ascent. And the
Exactly.
Kundalini
Yeah.
movement along the
Yeah.
spine goes higher
Yeah.
and deeper, and it's the vertical dimension that I talk about all of the time. People used to mimic me and laugh at me
Yeah.
because I thought
That's
I would do
yes.
that on the
Yes.
platform.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, this was also the time while we had those telecourses. I got into human design and the gene keys. And to me, I mean, you know, they are a language. Like for you, astrology is a language. I mean, it absolutely helped me. I mean, to accept some things in myself individually that I didn't think, I mean, were right. But it helped me, I mean, to really understand the energetic blueprint that I was. And both teachers, I mean, one was the mystic, I have to say, or the person who, in a mystical experience, received human design. A strange man called Ra Uruhu, who is no longer with us, who, you know, um, received that and brought it into a format that for people was acceptable. And the gene keys that have their origin in human design, but are much more right-brained. I mean, human design is left-brained. It's all about the mechanics, but gene keys is right-brained. It's all about imagination, contemplation. I mean, it's giving you some light guidance, but it's up to you, really. I mean, to go into the depth of this. And between these two, left brain, right brain, you
And
know.
so this was another time when we really were instruments in each other's lives, because you were the one that said you must do the instrument online. You can do it free. It was on the Richard Rudd's site,
Yeah, yeah.
and learning all about the gene keys. And the book was thick, and I bought it, read every single page, highlighted it. You and I talked about it. We even talked about human design and gene keys when you were um, uh, guiding me, questioning me, leading me, opening different perspectives when I was faced with the decision about breast surgery.
Mm,
So, I mean, I'm the age of your mother in my
a
late
little younger.
80s now.
Yeah.
And I thought, I don't need to do this in my late
Mm,
80s. And two people in my life, you and one of the beautiful souls at Unity on the Plaza at the Buddhist temple, um, guided me through that. And it's amazing how spirit brings us together with exactly the right people at the right time.
yeah.
The question is, are we willing? Are we open? Are we open to understanding what this shift could be about, and that our human idea of what the world looks like is probably limited
Mm,
because we can't see beyond
yeah.
our human intellect.
Mm,
And we have to open to the divine in order to let the downloads, in order to let the guidance come in from something beyond our human mind. So,
yeah.
the other thing, I know that we have one more picture that two more actually. This one is where you are now, and you
Yeah.
call it the Big River. Tell us what the Big River is.
Well, the Danube, of course. My mother died in the first year of COVID, not of COVID, but she died in the first year of when we had COVID, like in end of 2020. And we sold the house. It's gone. Huh? It's leveled.
And
So
your
I mean,
neighbor that lived across the fence called Mr. Love.
that was such an interesting story, wasn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah, yeah,
Your
yeah, yeah,
neighbor
yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
Mr.
You
Love.
remember that? You remember that? What was his name? It was a Serbian or Bosnian name. I forgot, but it meant love. Yeah, and he came over the fence and tried and helped me with a pond. That's true. Well, everything is gone. My childhood is gone. The house of my grandfather is gone. They leveled it. They built a new apartment building of it. We sold it. Um, and I moved into the city. And, I mean, by the grace of, I mean, the Holy Spirit, or I don't know who to thank for it, I got an incredible apartment, that is just absolutely right in terms of size, in terms of location, in terms of, I mean, how I move into it. Um, Absolutely impossible thing happened again. I have to say it happened again. So I lived there, and it's in Vienna, the second district, which is an island, actually. It's like in the middle of the Danube and the channel that goes from the Danube. And it's a very old, district, and it's for me, it's walking distance to the Danube. I mean that not in for European for in for European terms, it's a relatively large river, but not for American. You would laugh about this, but it's a beautiful river, and I mean I walk there every day almost, and it's I mean it's. Think also quite symbolic, I mean, to live finally close to the big river.
Well, Kansas City has its own big river, and
Yeah.
it's the one that comes down from uh, the north and comes to Kansas City and makes a sharp elbow curve turn and heads to the Mississippi. So
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
it's quite amazing. We're both living on big rivers.
Yeah, yeah. No, we're both living
Significant.
on big.
And
It's true. I mean, yeah, we have many parallels. Yeah, we have many parallels. Yeah,
very, very
yeah,
fascinating.
yeah.
And,
Mm.
and so we're at the close to the um, pause point, but the last one I want to bring up is the picture of the
Huh.
Passion Triangle.
Mm.
And um, Garth redid it to make it more clear, but it actually comes from my book, Your Soul's Invisible Codes. And it talks about my passion triangle in my own life. And the and I explain how to do it. On the right side of the horizontal line is consciousness and commitment. Uh, so, I, and it tells you how to contact your soul about doing the work and letting your soul awaken in the ongoing process within your own being. And the gifts of genius that I put on that side lead me to the commitment, which is a rainbow. And I call it dancing all of the colors of the rainbow. But what it is your descent back into the world and
Mm.
coming back in to guide others through. It's also the last Zen ox herding picture, and
Mm.
it's side 8 in Meditation Gardens. And then you look at what's on the top of that um, consciousness triangle, the gifts of genius and the commitment of dancing all the colors of the rainbow, and you choose a word that represents it. And my word was love.
Hmm.
So in the book, it describes that whole process. And then you said that that was life changing for you when you came to the retreat in Big Bear.
Yeah,
And
yeah, this is really something I remember because I think the first time I fully experienced really peace, big capital letter P, peace, was I mean driving on the 405 from LAX to Santa Ana or Tustin, when I came to California. And there was just crazy traffic like always. And I mean, there was just this incredible peace, I mean, around me. And I mean, I think this whole trip to Tustin was so mystical because, I mean, met you and, I mean, then I drove up that mountain and I was amazed because it's, I mean, also for European standards was quite high. So I drove up that mountain and we had this retreat there. And I believe we did this, triangle there. And it had more to do with, committing or picking three themes and bringing them together. And, I mean, peace, I know, I mean, this is a commitment to me, because to me it means no resistance. The moment there is no resistance, there is peace.
Yes.
And yeah, so this is, I mean, this is what um, I try for myself, and I help others, I mean, to get into. In human design, I'm a manifester, so that comes handy because the signature of the manifester is peace. But I want to figure that out later. Anyway, so this piece is the piece. How do you say that? Beyond all understanding, or what is it? Is really a commitment, and um, and the gift that came to me when we were in Big Bear was, I thought, I have many gifts and everything, but what is the, main gift? Then I thought it's transformation, you know. I mean, so throughout all my life, I mean, it goes from one stage to another. And, I mean, I'm also a cook, I mean, and it's like the original alchemist, So what uh, this transformation, and also, my own transformation many times, but also helping others to do a step and then the next step towards a transformation is really where I see the gift I bring to this world. And then um, have I got this wrong now? And then the last one, where it leads to where you have the rainbow. What is it? The commitment? Um,
The three words that you mentioned to me was peace,
no, I
transformation.
know the word, but it's what what is it? The last one. It's the um, you have the gift, you have the commitment, you have the gift, and the what is it?
And the
Uh,
action.
Never mind. The third one, the third one will come to me, is creating, because, and I mean, it goes nicely with Genesis, because even again all my life, I mean, I'm an artist at heart, and but it goes beyond, I mean, doing things with my hand, and I mean, I can write, I can paint, I can draw, I can do so many things, but there is another stage of this, and I'm moving into this. I don't know what it is. I do not know what it is. I only know that when I moved here, this big apartment, there's a room, and I was guided to, I mean, create a space for creating. But I don't know what I'm going to do there. Everything is ready. So we'll see. We'll see what happens next.
The unknowing is there.
The unknowing is there. Yes. The
Uh-huh.
unknown is there, yes. And there's not many people I can talk about these strange things, but but yeah.
So that's what I love about these calls. I love these calls
Mm,
because we're not stuck in any identity that we've had in the past. We're not stuck in the roles that we played in the past. They were important parts of our life. It's not that we discount them, but we realize we are constantly recreating, evolving. We are constantly in the amazing experience of opening into the vastness.
mm,
The vastness is about the unknowing, and you can't know what's in the unknowing. Your human
yeah,
mind can't calibrate that.
yeah,
You
yeah,
have to open into divine mind.
yes.
Be willing and let divine mind show you the way. So we're at a pause point, and I just want to say, um, Called by Love is completely supported by love donations. If I've had one element of resistance in my life that I've never given up. It's my commitment to love donation as opposed to charging. And sometimes we've charged for courses and we've charged for it retreats and things that require cost and preparation um, and people. And but the dialogues that we're doing on these calls are sacred dialogues. They're dialogues about transformational journeys. And they're dialogues about how people travel that sacred journey. And I've never wanted to put a price on them. And so they will always be available as long as I'm alive for free. And um, and who knows what'll happen then? I've designated some people to be part of that transition when it happens. I'm not looking forward to it or expecting it. I'm going for 100. That's still several years away.
120 here.
There you go. My grandfather lived to 105, so I do have some genetic possibility for the 100. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is if you go onto our website and scroll down, it's or onto one of our announcement emails replay emails, it says join our tribe. Uh, some people don't realize that the only commitment you're making there is to be on our mailing list. So that's the way you get on the mailing list is to join the tribe. And now we're going to shift into the final part of the program. And I know that Carl has a question, and I want her to be able to dialogue with you about gene keys or human design. And so we'll let Coral be the first person, but this last now 25 more minutes will be about what I call, oh my God, sharing. Oh my God, that happened to me. Oh my God, that is what I experienced. Oh my God. Or it can also be about questions and answers. But and I also want to mention that we have rescheduled John Welshen's call for next month. So in March, on March 18th, the person on the call will be the person who got laryngitis. And we did our We Are That call, where we were all the spotlight guests. And I loved that call. I had no idea what would happen. Anyway, John Welshins will be on the spotlight guest for the month of March. And April's my birthday call, and I have a very, very special person that's going to help me with that. So, Coral, you're up. And if other people want to say something to Michaela, do raise your hand. You can do it this way or either down at the bottom where you can raise your hand and Carl.
Well, Marge, again, thank you so much for creating this beautiful sacred space of these calls. They're really quite extraordinary. And Michaela, I know I'm saying that incorrectly, not the correct way, but Michaela, it's so great to meet you in this format. I've been on Called by Love calls with you in the past. And I so distinctly remember, and I was sharing this with Marge a couple months ago, how you would always speak about the gene keys and how they had impacted your life and how, and I am paraphrasing here and I'm not quoting you, you said that they were the way, inward, right? It's sort of really distinguishing things in your life overall. So without getting into too much depth of the gene keys. And so I guess about 5 years ago, they came back to me. That was probably 10 years ago somehow. And I thought, I'm going to buy that book. And I bought the book, as Marge says, about this thick. I
Nice.
did my profile and I started reading, and it's very dense material. And then a couple of years ago, it came back around with human design this time, sort of human design, then the gene keys. And I recently did Richard Rudd's Gaia course, online course, in December, which really sort of was that introductory, explained how it works. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And I'm enrolled in the Golden Path Retreat right now. It's a 14-month long course.
Yeah,
I
me too.
guess it's over a year. Are you in the course?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm
Yes.
in that as
Yes.
well.
Yeah. It's the
And
last one he does. Yes.
what I was telling Marge, I was sharing that with Marge the other day. He says this is the last one he's going to do. So I jumped all into that. So I'm in the midst of that. But as far in human design, I'm a manifestor generator. Really, about 80% I've been told manifestor, and then gene keys. It's too many numbers to go into, but as you know, we're in the evolution, right? So what I really love about Richard Rudd and his way of being is that it's just move into the heart, the contemplation, and allow. I'm someone that's I'm equal right, left brain, but I can go to the left brain because I want to know, I want to understand. But this has really provided a space of allowing. And I know you've been practicing both gene keys and uh, human design. As far as gene keys, what has been the most, I guess, the surprise for you in your journey so far with the gene keys, and sort of what you learned and uncovered and created?
Mm. I mean, like yourself, I'm a switch between gene key and human design, and human design and gene key. And, I mean, I've been able really to separate the mechanics of human
Mhm,
design, which were in the beginning really important to me because it helped me
mhm,
really to accept my energetic buildup as a manifestor. And manifestor are strange people. And, I mean, finding out that I'm not so strange after all. But then moving on to the gene keys, and understanding my energetic makeup in more depth. And I mean, in particular, I give you an example. Um, my life work, which is basically the gate or the gene key that is activated by the sun. So it's I mean your most prominent, so to speak, influence is 48.5, and the 48 is the well. And the I Ching is like, I think it's wind under the water. And it really helped me to understand what I'm doing, because I love, I mean, to go to the depth of things, deep, 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 until, I mean, I'm really, really very, very, I mean, at the bottom of things. And there is these three levels. There is the shadow, the inadequacy, and I understood. I mean, it's all really a knowledge seeker. I used to be a knowledge seeker. Now I'm a wisdom seeker, but I used to be a knowledge seeker. I mean, I knew so many things, but I always felt inadequate, and I understood where this feeling was coming from, right? But I also understood that there is the shadow, there is the gift, and the gift of the 48 is resourcefulness, and that I also recognized in me because I'm a very practical person. I mean, I think that makes me good in what I do. I mean, I always have a good piece of advice. I mean, I have really a lot of resources for myself, and I mean, for others, and understanding that moving from these feelings of inadequacy that are sometimes really, secretly tucked away, but really focusing on the practical part, on the resourceful, on the gift. Really created a shift for me, because now I know feelings of inadequacy, they are not true. They are not true. This is some fear, there's some fear manifesting, but it's not really true. And, lastly, and this is what I said, understanding that, this hunger for knowledge I always had, like, well, you want to know, you want to know, you want to know, gathering knowledge of so many systems and don't ask me. Understanding, to move into wisdom, and not saying I'm wise, but I understand that, you have to forget what you know, to move into wisdom. And, Richard Rudd is helping me, because with his contemplation, this is what he does. He is like in the wisdom stream. Like Marj is the love stream, but Richard Love is the wisdom stream. And, so between Marj and Richard Rudd, I think I'm very well placed. And I think, this is what has me surprised, yes, surprised, how this is applicable, but the surprise is I had to forget what I know. And so, I'm not that much any longer in human design, or, Jinkies. I sometimes look something up or so, but I really try to cultivate the wisdom.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you. I'm a 47.5, but completely different.
Mm-hmm.
So close. So
Remind me, what are the three words of the 47?
47.5. Well, oppression is the shadow,
Yeah.
transmutation, the
Yes.
gift,
Yes.
and the city is transfiguration. So
Yes. I love the 47. It's
yeah,
really,
I'm
it's one of my favorite.
yeah.
Yeah. It's really
So
one of my favorites. Yeah. I completely forgot all of this. What is the counterpoint of the 47? What is the
the 22.5, the
22 points? Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
honor,
Yeah.
graciousness, and
Yeah.
grace.
Yeah.
And it's the
Yes.
seventh seal, so I'm trying not to go down the rabbit hole on that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that it really helps not only to understand yourself, and to recognize yourself, but really relax about yourself, because it puts things really into perspective.
Yeah, yeah. And it's for right now, the path of just turning that mirror on me with self-compassion and self-forgiveness.
Yeah,
And yeah, a lot of that work. So yeah, so thank you
yeah,
so much. Thank you, Marj, for allowing this space.
Well, the word that I relate to in my profile is evolutionary. And I
Mm-hmm.
thought, oh my God, that's what I've lived for my whole life. I'm always in this process that is an evolutionary process.
yeah,
And every stage of my life, and I'll be talking about this some in April, um, and at every stage of my life, I have gone beyond the boundaries of the previous stage, and I don't trash them. But it's transcend and include. So, and my process is completely different, for example, than Ed's. I bought him the book that I learned so much from. The book about Marj was the one that I read on human design. I bought Ed the book called The Book About Ed. He didn't like it. He just said, I don't believe that. And I read it and I learned all kinds of things about him. The most important thing that I learned was that he is a person who learns by yes and no. And constantly, when he would ask me for yes and no's, I would get irritated. And I would
You
say,
need to.
I have more words in my vocabulary than yes and no. And I would answer in sentences or whatever. That's not the way he functions. He
Mhm.
functions in a very different way than I do. And I learned that from reading the book about Ed. It's fascinating what you can learn. And it's been so helpful for me to be willing to graciously and delightfully is a key word, go to the yes or the no. And sometimes I
Mm,
forget. Uh,
mm,
it's the way we all are. Sometimes we forget. So
yeah.
we have
For
so
me, it's a
many
part. Oh, sorry.
patterns.
For me, it's a part of the energy medicine. I mean, I used it quite a bit. I mean, when I was working with people, you know sometimes, I mean, I show them the graphs, but sometimes just secretly, I mean, look at their profile. But nowadays, I mean, um I can intuitively, I mean, not the gates, but, and I can intuitively tell what the type is. And it's helping me so much, like you said, to approach people, you know, like not yes or no. You need an invitation, I mean, you're a projector, but, I mean, a yes or no person, that's, I mean, that's a very different energetic makeup. Mm.
Very, very fascinating for me. And and yeah, I don't see any other hands. Is there anyone else that would like to join in? If there are, raise your hand and simply wave if you don't know how to go down and raise your hand on the computer. And um, I'd love to have anyone come in and uh, talk about how they have related to this. I think about the evolution in my own life, and I started out in my childhood. It was a wonderful childhood, wonderful. And the focus was love, total love. So I didn't learn until I was a minister years and years and years later that that's not where most people start. I just assumed everyone had that in their life. And what I learned is that people have very different stories. And it's all based on often where they were born, who their parents were. And I've absolutely loved David Hawkins' awareness when it comes to that. And actually, Charles Fillmore also, that we choose our parents before we come in. And we're part of a soul group that looks at the opportunity, it's not a requirement, the opportunity to come into Earth School, which is one of the toughest assignments you can take on, and learn how to be way showers. And uh, and it's incredible when we recognize that we made that choice and we chose our parents for some reason to either become teachers for them or for them to become teachers for us. Could be either or both and. And I was born into a Seventh-day Adventist childhood, a very fundamentalist kind of religious structure. But every religion has its own fundamentalism. Even unity has a fundamentalist level. If it's not Fillmore, it's not unity, is the shortest way to describe that. A normative unity is somewhere in between, brings in all kinds of things. And I'm in the normative realm until the universe popped me out of that into the mystical realm as I met people like Eckhart Tolle, as I met people like Adyashanti, as I met people like Ram Dass. And now I'm bringing online people who knew them and have studied with them and lived with them, like John Welshons next month. A 30, 40-year friendship with Ram Dass, his closest friend probably. Anytime his caretaker could not be there for him, it was John Welshons that she called and said, I need to go on vacation. Will you please come and stay with Ram Dass while I'm gone? What a gift to be a caretaker for a master. What a gift. And as Ram Dass used to say, I love this quote from him, we're all walking each other home.
Mhm.
What a beautiful, beautiful way to understand our life journeys, our world, and how amazing it is to begin to recognize that we have played significant parts in each other's lives. Michaela, I'm so grateful for you coming on today and being here to be able to tell you that. Who knows? If we hadn't continued in these kinds of sporadic contacts over a whole decade of time, if we hadn't reached out to each other, if we hadn't happened to be in the right place at the right time, we wouldn't be having this conversation today. We wouldn't be inviting people to take the time to look at their own lives as a journey in timelessness. That's very different than the vertical path, which starts at your birth and ends at your death. The horizontal path, the vertical path is higher and deeper. It's the path of the soul. It's the path of many, many lifetimes. And it's the path of recognizing. So it was not unusual for people at Unity in Tustin to say, I think we've all been together before. And some of the people would say, I feel like it was the time of Jesus. Every time we do the Easter story, which is what Coral and I are going to do in March together, or who knows, we may decide to invite some people to join us. And we haven't even talked about that. We probably should, Coral. And so, what are the potentials that spirit is calling you to? Not your human self, not the self that wants to um, surrender and die, but the self that surrenders the human mind and opens to divine mind. The human mind will still guide us, still very actively guide us, because your human mind is brilliant in its own way. What I know is that many of us are right-brained and experiential learners. If I had gone to UMass at any other time in my life, I probably would not have stayed because they were in a revolutionary moment themselves. The people that came there with the intention of taking an old, outdated ed school and turning it upside down and letting all the pieces land where they might and then reorganizing it. That's what we're going to be doing in our lives in the coming decade. Today is part of the threshold of that. And I love the message from Pam Gregory saying that all that is no longer working in your life, if you are willing, will fall away. So focus on what you want to grow, on what you want to experience and open to in your life, and stay peaceful through the wild ride as the systems that exist, especially in the United States and around the world, but especially the systems in our country that are being dismantled all of the time by the Lucifer and the tribe of the oneness, the dismantler, and the system's becoming more chaotic at the 3D level. The 3D level is dissolving, and humanity is in a powerful, powerful force of light where we can hold the steady frequency of loving coherence. And this is free. It's simple, very simple for us to do it. And just be present and experience the profound shift of this world. Make stillness and silence your gold. Make it your abundance. Feel love in your heart and feel gratitude in all that blesses you. I feel so blessed in living this life here now in Kansas City with Ed, whom I knew 30 years ago. I had no clue that this is where I would end up in at this point in time in my life. I always thought that I would breathe my last breath as an esteemed minister emeritus at Unity in Tustin. Not so. It's fascinating how it happens. We are living now in 2026, one of the most pivotal times in our lives. And we, according to Pam Gregory, have already entered the alchemy of this crucible of radical change. And we are out of time. So thank you, Michaela. Thank you,
Thank
everyone,
you.
for being on the call. Thank you, Coral, for coming on and sharing your gifts. And I look forward to seeing you here at Holly for Holy Week. We'll have to talk about what we're going to do. I've had some thoughts drop in. You may have also. And we, in many ways, just want to replicate some of the experiential time that we had in celebrating Holy Week together when both of us were at Unity in Tustin. So, beloved ones, we are so, so grateful for you, for each other, and for this chaotic world that we are unraveling. Divine dissolve. And so it is.